All right. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy Monday, said no one ever. My name's Tyler Clary. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing here with Fitter and Faster Swim Tour. Welcome to another broadcast slash episode of hashtag FFT Live presented by Fitter and Faster Swim Camps. This episode's titled Breaking It Down, Breaststroke, and we've got a really good friend of mine who's an absolute legend. His name's Hansen. Brendan, you there?
Yeah. What's up, buddy? How are you?
You need to turn on your audio and video, bud.
I did.
There's the audio. There's the video. You double click the audio. The audio.
There you go. We're good. All right. First webinar. Just kidding.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. But yeah, everybody chat. Let me know first off where you're from and what swim team you're repping. And I want to know if you've ever watched one of Brendan's races. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have watched Brendan race. He got out of the sport. When did you retire, Brendan?
2012.
Right. So not terribly long ago. And it was awesome to have gotten to swim with him. And, breaststroke is definitely not my forte. So once we sort of get into the subject matter here, I'm going to stop flapping my gums and let Brendan speak on what he is clearly an expert on. But, Brendan, talk to us a little bit about sort of where you are now, what you're doing, and kind of how you guys are handling quarantine.
Yeah. So personally, I left the sport of swimming in 2012 after the London Games. That was my last hurrah. And then after leaving there, I kind of dabbled in some businesses, worked around some stuff, and then eventually found myself back on the pool deck coaching a little bit once I had sold some of my stuff that I was working on. And I started a club program in Austin. And then since then, kind of just saw the progression of where club swimming was and wanted to get more involved with it. And a position at USA Swimming came up with Director of Team Services. So a year ago this month, I took a job with USA Swimming. So it's kind of crazy how I as much as I try to distance myself and find new ways to get out there, I tend to get clawed back in, which is great because these are my people. I see everybody on here saying, "What's up, Hansen?" It's awesome. I love this. So, but Team Services is basically a group of performance and program people that help clubs, help coaches, help athletes, kind of take what we learned from the national team from a performance side and dabble it into the club world and let these kids under the age of 18 kind of understand what's working, what's not working, and then also make sure that the clubs out there and the coaches feel supported. So it's an awesome job. I'm really excited about where our leaders of USA Swimming are taking these things. And it's, this is one of the things, Tyler, about me that you've learned is that it's the people that bring me to certain places, right? Not titles, not anything else. When you go through the stories that you and I have in the pool and stuff like that, you talk about the experiences you have with the people. I'm just really excited to be working with the people at USA Swimming that I'm working with. And they're just a good group of guys, man, and gals. And so I'm really pumped.
Well, and I can tell it's something that you're really happy about. So I'm stoked for you, and really thankful that that's kind of the position that you're in. So awesome to hear. Before we sort of get into it, so this is totally your time to brag about yourself. So tell us a little bit about some of your accolades, records, medals, all that kind of stuff.
This is my least favorite part, Tyler. Why would you make me do this, man?
It's at the beginning. This is your job. We can get it out of the way.
Oh, man. Come on now. All right. Let's see. I know I can rattle off some stuff. So my first Olympics was in 2004. And then I made the 2008 Olympic team and then 2012. So I'm a 3-time Olympian. Across all 3 of those Olympics, I won 6 Olympic medals, which sounds like a lot, but when you're swimming with the guys that Tyler and I did, 6 was just like the average. It was like decent. You only came home with 2 medals. Everybody else had wind chimes. So that was really cool. So then in the process of those Olympics, I also broke the world record a bunch of times. I think it was upwards of like 6 or 7 times. I know I did it in 3 times in one summer, which was pretty cool. And I think the biggest thing that I liked about my career when looking back on it, because I think I have a lot more perspective now than when I was in it, is I was either number 1 or number 2 in the world for 12 years. So one of the things when I started getting into that level, I didn't want to just be a good one time, or, you know, the longevity aspect of being an impact swimmer for the United States was really important to me. So to kind of say that for over a decade, I was one of the top breaststrokers in the country, if not in the world, is something I'm really proud of. So, and I think that just kind of goes, there's a mindset, you know, Tyler, there's a mindset that goes with that, right? So we can talk a little bit about that at the end, but overall, man, it was a heck of a ride, and it was a really fun time in my life. So, and again, I got to swim with some of the best in the world, you know, historically the best. So it was really fun.
Yeah, for sure. And having had the opportunity to be on the team with you myself, like I totally connect with what you said earlier. It's like, it's not necessarily about the titles, and like, sure, some of the titles that came with some of the people that you and I have competed with, like added to some of the atmosphere in certain ways. But it was so much more about like the personalities and stuff. And I just always thought it was super fun being around you on the national team, because you bring like a really positive, energetic energy with you. And you also, you had been around for, for several Olympics before I had made my Olympics. So you had like this air of confidence about you too, that kind of like helped put me at ease. So I really appreciated that. So you're go ahead.
You know, I'm not big on self-proclaiming stuff, but you know, breaststrokers, and we're talking about breaststroke here, but breaststrokers get a bad rap, right? Like we're known for weirdos. Weird, but I'm gonna self-proclaim myself, folks, the most normal breaststroker you'll ever meet. Like I'm gonna say that. Now that I could probably screw that up in the next hour as we talk through stuff, and you're like, that dude's weird, but. I'll tell you right now, I mean, look, I think we can go into the experiences of the Olympics, Olympic trials, you know, Olympic training camps, and that camaraderie of those people and that stuff. But it's hard to put it into words. But man, it was just really fun to be around people that were as competitive as you were, and enjoy those moments. So yeah, I still remember us racing at training camp and a bunch of stuff. And you were like, God, I hate it when we get to the breaststroke leg of this. And I was like, yeah, well, I hate everything else. So, you know, but it didn't matter. You're just competitive and you threw down. So it's all good, man.
For sure. I hadn't thought about those training camps up at the OTC in quite a while. And I do remember that now. And you whooped me when we did anything breaststroke. You absolutely whooped me. But so University of Texas, right?
Yes.
Longhorn. So how did your years of being a Longhorn go? What were some of the more notable happenings while you were there as an undergrad?
Look, I mean, I was on foot at the University of Texas coming off of the 2000 Olympic trials, and had gotten third twice at those trials and didn't make the Olympic team. So that kid that stepped on at University of Texas was a really challenging time in my career, probably one of the turning points in my career. And if it wasn't for the guys on that team, or Eddie Reese and Chris Kubik, I don't think the accolades that we were talking about 10 minutes ago would really have ever happened, right? So it was just a very supportive, competitive environment that Eddie Reese and that Chris Kubik had kind of put on us at Texas. And look, I'll tell this story. I walked on the university and took a white piece of tape, wrote "Man on a Mission," put it over my last name on the locker. And every single day of my freshman year saw that, and so did all my teammates, because I had a huge chip on my shoulder coming off of those Olympic trials, and just never wanted to forget what it felt like to get third at those trials, and then use that to kind of motivate me throughout the rest of the year. And I still think there's a locker there with that on it, which is pretty cool, you know? So my time at Texas was pretty incredible. I got really, really good really fast. I remember walking into Eddie's office 2 years into my career there and saying, I want to break the world record this summer. How do I do it? And he just looked at me and said, you're going to have to do more than I ask of you every day, you know? And I think that's the only way you can wrap your head around to be the fastest you've ever been, or the fastest the sport's ever seen, is you gotta push your coach, and your coach has to push you, and you have to have that relationship. And that's kind of the relationship I had with Eddie. And then I just took what he said to me and turned to my teammates and told them what he said, and then tried to get them to support me through the whole thing too. And, I'd love to tell you that summer it happened, but it didn't. It took 2 years from that to happen. But so much of these experiences that I had at Texas were about the team and were about the people. Look, I swam with Aaron Pierce, Solony, and Crocker, and at one time we held the world record in every single stroke, right, outside of what Michael Phelps was rewriting. But it's pretty exciting times. And a lot of what you saw at the Olympic training camp is what we had every single day at Texas. And I was spoiled to death, man. I was spoiled to death.
Yeah. And I did hear that quite a lot about that training groups, and clearly it worked out for you. But enough of all that. Let's get into, what everybody is really here for, right? Let's get into actually breaking down your specialty, breaststroke. So I'm going to pull up this slide presentation that I put together using your points, of course.
Sure.
And we'll get into it.
Right on.
So the key concepts, talk us through some of your overarching concepts. And then, of course, we'll go through each and every one of these and break them down more specifically.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the chat, and I can see some people throwing in some lines. Like, I had talked to you or visited with your teams. Like, Tyler, you and I have been pretty active through this quarantine and had chances to talk to everybody. So a lot of what some people may hear are going to be the same on this. But guys, when I looked at the stroke, I tried to break it down pretty simple. And I think as you get further in your career and you start to have a better relationship with your coach, there needs to be a conversation there to what your coach wants to see and what you're trying to do. And that conversation is important because, again, you have to take ownership of your swimming. And if you feel like you're getting told the same thing over and over again, like, hey, your head position is wrong, every Thursday, and then you need to go to coach and say, okay, I don't know what you mean by that, right? Like, it's amazing how many athletes are just like, I know, stop. Well, that's not the way Olympians think. Like, everybody goes, what's the Olympic mindset? It's like, if you tell me I'm doing something wrong, we're going to get to the root of that problem.
Right.
These key areas that I have here that I put up for you, Tyler, they're very simple. Each one of them has a certain concept to it, but these are what I would consider the buckets of the stroke, that I would just make sure that each one of these buckets was filled before I would go into a major competition. And I wanted to make sure that these areas either had an upgrade or a new thought process behind it going into the next season, right? Like, you break a world in the summer, what do you do going into the fall and try to figure out how to improve your stroke, even though you're not world and the fastest ever? These are the areas that I would look at to kind of focus on. And again, they're nothing major, but there's a lot of good meat that we're going to get into when we talk about the kick, the pull, finding your line, which you'll find in every single stroke, y'all. And then the head position, I just have one thing about that: pull-outs. Just a concept behind that, and then some drills. I love giving these drills out because there's some things that we did going into a swim meet that I would drill versus going into practice and trying to hit certain checkpoints. So we can kind of start with the kick first if you want. There you go. Look at you throwing some cool little explanations in there and what we got. All right. That is not me, by the way, and I have no idea who that is.
That's an animation.
Yeah, all right, good. It's clearly not me. No, but here's some key points with the kick, y'all. And I just want to stress this, is that the hip and ankle flexibility. If you are raising your hand right now when I ask the question, I'm not good at breaststroke, this is the area that you struggle with the most. If you're not in the water right now and you're sitting at home and you can't, your pool's not opened yet, these are areas that you can work on, right? Like, if you ever sit or walk by a gate in the airport and see a swim team, most of them are on the floor and they're stretching and they're trying to find ways to improve their ankle flexibility. They're not sitting in a chair. They're usually trying to find ways to improve their hip or ankle flexibility when it comes to breaststroke. A lot of the tightness that you're going to have in the quad and glute strength that you would have in a dolphin kick or your long axis strokes are going to inhibit your short axis strokes, or mostly breaststroke. So the areas that you want to roll out, or the areas that you want to really get in with a lacrosse ball, is going to be that hip flexor, that TF1, there's that piriformis, which is all around and the circumference of your hip. The reason I know all those technical terms is because I've injured every single one of them. I swear, at some point in my career, I was like, oh, that doesn't work anymore. But a lot of the reasons that you guys cannot, as you're sitting there raising your hand saying, I'm not a good breaststroker, is because you're not getting the kick that you need. The best swimmers in the world are best kickers. And then the hiding of the kick. Sorry, it's a typo there, but height of the kick. That's one of the areas that we're going to see. And I saw somebody put in the chat room that Adam Peaty is so fast. I couldn't agree more, right? And when I watch him swim, I see bring his heels up to his glutes, and he starts to catch that water, but everything stays inside and behind him. Okay, if you think of yourself as one mass going through the water, you want to make sure that you can keep that kick nice and compact before you engage the heels and come. So there's a great video on GoSwim.tv that Glenn Mills and I shot a while back that will show you how to hide the kick. It's free right now. Go check it out. Again, just don't come up with your own stuff. Just steal it from me. Like, that's one area that a lot of you are bringing yourself way too wide. You're catching too much water. You think if your coach is telling you, hey, you're kicking too wide, or you're causing resistance with that kick. That's what I mean by keeping those heels in. When you bring those heels up and you kind of cock the hammer, I like to call it, that's where you want to stay a little bit more compact. This is a key point here. And I put this in here, Tyler, because I know you like race cars, but create gears, speeds, right? One of the biggest challenges that I see with swimmers as they improve, especially breaststrokers, is their ability to change gears with their legs. You're going to, as you improve and you start to get better with your strokes, you're going to hear tempo changes, right? That's going to be part of your conversation around your race strategy is tempo. A lot of your tempo changes come from your legs. Right? If you want your arms to move faster in freestyle, your feet need to move faster. Same concept with breaststroke. If you want your arms to move faster in breaststroke and you not spin out, or what I like to call turn into a water bug, you need to make sure that those feet are moving at the same speed or the speed you want them to. So again, back to the Adam Peaty analogy. Right now, if I was to get back in the water and compete against somebody at that level, I would be focusing on my foot, trying to improve my foot speed on land, try to find ways to move my feet faster, try to get my neurological connections so that I can get my heels up fast enough, because right now he's the only guy I know that can catch water at a 0.9 tempo. Okay. He has more gears. If you have more gears, what does that mean? Your race car is what, Tyler?
Your race car's faster.
Boom. There you go. Yeah. So look, don't settle in on thinking that you can only move your feet so fast. We're going to talk about drills at the end of this. One of those is going to be wall kicks. Wall kicks is one of the best ways to rev your engine. You want to rev your engine without having to worry about where you're going. That's one way to do it. And then the last part, which is the number one thing I wanted to get across to y'all, and that's why I anchored it on this list, is know your time to raise the bar. Okay? So many of you, and I made the exact same mistake, is I was one of the worst kickers on my team in my club program. I completely disengaged from breaststroke kick or any kick for that matter, because I was not good at it. I would wait till in practice till I was something I was good at, and then I would get in front of the lane and I would lead the lane for that set. Whereas you may never be the best kicker on your team, and it doesn't mean you're not going to be the fastest swimmer. Pay attention to what you go on 50 sets, right? Pay attention to what you're going on hundreds. Like if Tyler and I can still remember this set we did and at the Olympic training camp or Olympic training center, where we did a 50 kick all out fast. Some of us were doing breaststroke, some of us were doing dolphin. Okay. And it was on a minute, and then we kicked back easy, and we did it like 12 rounds. Okay. Did I win every 50? No, but I was paying attention to what I was going on those 50s. Like I was going 39s or 42s, somewhere in those range for 50 meters. And I'm trying to improve myself. So when I say raise the bar, raise your bar. Don't raise other people's, because the thing is that if I was comparing myself to Tyler, I would have gotten out of the water and thrown that kickboard really far, because he would have crushed me on any kick set that we did. Okay. So my point is that
kicking breaststroke.
That's true. That's true. I mean, yeah, but I would really encourage you to when I say the things like focus on improving your kick. Pay attention to those times. If you improve your kick by 2 seconds in a 50, you should be super excited about going to the swim meet in 2 weeks, because you're like, man, my engine is upgraded. I just got to change some gears. Like, let's go. Those are the kinds of things that if you're asking Tyler and I, like, hey, how do you build confidence? If I start pushing kick set times faster, like, tell me you weren't confident. If you didn't like, man, I've never kicked a flutter kick 100 like, going that fast. Like, those were the kinds of things, those little benchmarks that we would have in practice that would try to help us. So again, work on your flexibility on land. It's not going to happen in the water. Okay. One of the techniques that I see is hiding your kicks. That's just bringing your heels up to your tush and pushing back. Creating gears. Make sure that you're playing with different foot speeds, because your legs will drive your tempo in breaststroke. And then know your time. The best swimmers are the best kickers. As long as you're plotting your dots and your dots are going up, right? Like, I would look at the next season and I'd say, okay, what did you push for a 50 or 100 long course? Can we lower those times? If I did, I knew I was better. Okay. I never compared myself to my teammates, because if I did, I would never have had the confidence to go race. Because guys, when I swim at Texas or I swam with these guys at Olympic training camp, they're just, I mean, it's next level stuff.
A bunch of animals.
Yeah. And we all, yeah. So.
Well, and I got an interesting question that came in a few minutes ago, and I'm curious to actually hear your response to this one. Jake Hayes asked, Hansen, what do you think of Ed Moses's kick?
Ed Moses's kick was probably one of the best I'd ever seen. And so much of the kick, when we get to the third component to this about getting into your line, Ed was really, really good with his kick, but he was even better in his line. You want to know why? Because the first 50 of his 200 breaststroke long course, he would take like 14 strokes, right? Like, and look
impressive,
effortless doing it. Yeah, and I mean, I think he would change that strategy now. But back then, I was like, when you're swimming against that and you're seeing that efficiency, you're like, oh, this is not going to go well for me. like there's some aspects to that. So much of the kick is what you can generate. Okay, so I can only generate so much power with my kick because my feet and my legs are only a certain size. So don't necessarily compare yourself to what somebody else is doing. Just understand the power that you can generate with your kick of all kicks, and then understand how to take that power and apply it to the line. Because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the kick right now. We're going to move to the pull, and then we're going to put those two ingredients together, because that's where the money is, man. That's where the magic happens. Okay?
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that comment, because you're absolutely right. He was one of the best. But again, I just mentioned, don't compare yourself to what other people are. Don't pull up a bunch of Brendan Hansen videos and be like, that's the way my kick needs to look. Figure out what works for you, because I had size 13 shoe. And if you're sitting there staring at sixes, you ain't gonna catch water like I catch water. And that's okay. You just got to figure out how to lower your standard as far as the times in practice. Couple things around the breaststroke pull. Okay. Keeping your elbows in front of your chest. This is that transition from what I would consider the summer league breaststroke, right? Where your main focus when you learned how to swim breaststroke was what? Like your main focus was to breathe. So the number one thing you wanted to do was get this out of the water. Yeah. So you just see all these kids bobbing up, and what happens? Everybody's cheering them on, like, "Oh, look how cute you are!" You know, like it's. But what it does is it really takes that breaststroke pull and moves it back here. Okay. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of younger swimmers make is that their elbows get far behind them. Keep everything in front of your body. I always like to see the front drive of my breaststroke. So keeping your elbows in front of your chest is the number one thing I want to see. And that's a great picture that Tyler put up there, because you can see I'm right in the power of the in sweep, right? I'm about to shoot my hands forward, but you can see how my elbows are in front of my chest. If you saw my elbows back here, okay, I knew that I was pulling too wide, and that would also, in a sense, kind of screw up my timing at the end. I would want to keep that pull in front of my body. One of the things, guys, that you're going to notice when you put those elbows in front of your chest, at least the natural reaction of every swimmer I've ever told that to is going to be, I feel like I'm pulling too narrow. You're not. Okay. You're not. And we're going to talk about why you need to keep that pull there when we get to the timing and the line of this. But just when we start learning how to swim breaststroke, we pull too wide. Why? Because we're trying to grab all of what's your coach tell you when you're a little kid? Grab all that candy, and then put it in your mouth. And you're like,
or grab the big beach ball, right?
Yeah, right. Like you just, everything is about wide. And then as you get better in breaststroke and improve, and actually, guys, as you get stronger, that pull can get narrower and narrower. It's going to look narrow and narrow, but you're going to be able to dig down, right? Those hands are going to be able to point down, and you're going to be able to grab that leverage. Whereas a little kid, you're just going to keep sweeping out. And really and truly, just like every stroke, all of the power is underneath your body, okay? The head stays down until the hands are kind of sweep out, okay? This is one of the, oh man, this is like the biggest mistakes that I see across the board, like even elite athletes, okay? Like when we would be at training camp and one of the IMers would come up to me and be like, hey, can you look at my breaststroke? I just want some help with it. I'm like, yeah, sure. What you'll see is, and I'm going to try and move my hand back here, but like their hands are out here like this. And then as they start to in-sweep their hands, they pick their head up, right? Like Ryan Lochte was one of the most challenging people at this. Like he just had a tendency to he wanted to like peek, right? Like he wanted to peek that head. And it was just a natural reaction. He also did it in fly as well, okay? What you want to do to maintain that line is keep that head down from the I position out to the Y, okay? So as you're sweeping those hands out, you keep it down. I call it lazy head, okay? But you want to keep that head in line with the spine. If you creep that head up, okay, if you think about the pendulum, like when Ryan Lochte would pick his head up like this, as soon as he did this, ate a weight loss. And guess what that did to his hips? It pushed his hips down. Okay, so for every reaction, there's going to be for every cause, there's going to be a reaction. And so when you creep that head up like this, that's going to drop those hips. It's got nothing to do with your head or your neck. I just want to keep your hips on the surface of the water. And preventing you from picking that 8-pound weight up is going to drop those hips. And that's the number one thing I want to see. The rhythm and the speed change, okay? This is one of those, there's not a lot of aha moments in swimming, right? Like if Tyler and I can sit here all day and sit here and say, like, when we would change our stroke and tweak our stroke or make an adjustment, it wasn't like you stopped and looked up at Coach Marsh and were like, oh my God, that was amazing. No, it was like, that feels really weird, but I believe you, but I don't see it yet. So we're going to play with it. Like, it's tweaking and changing your stroke as like a mechanic is not, it's not necessarily fun, but it's where we live, right? Like I would say 6 or 7 years of my career, that's the number one thing I was chasing in practice was that weirdness, right? Like was playing with my body moving in a certain way and getting it right. So one of the challenges that I see around the rhythm and the speed change is that you start this pull and then you sweep and it's all one speed. It's not one speed. Okay, it just like when we get to the pull out, you're going to see that in sweep out starts slow and then it comes into a pop and you pop those hands in. Okay, so you got to play with that pop. One of the best drills that I know of to change with rhythm and speed change, and I know everybody listening has done this, so I apologize for the repetitiveness, but it really comes down to the flutter kick with fins on, breaststroke arms, right? You can really play and over-exaggerate that, like, oh, yeah, slide out front, boom, pop in, and you can really feel that pop, right? That pop through your chest when you're keeping your elbows in front of your chest and you have that pop. That's going to give you the acceleration that coach wants to see. Because what's coach saying on the side of the pool? Shoot, right? There's a shoot your hands. Well, for you to shoot your hands forward, you have to create that energy. So one of the biggest mistakes, and the reason I put it on this list for you guys, is because a lot of people have a tendency to pull one speed. You're not churning butter, man. Like don't be just pulling one speed. Start slow because that's where your catch is. As you accelerate in, really accelerate and get that pop. One thing that I've told a lot of people that's really kind of resonated with some people is like banging on a drum, right? Like you're just kind of pop, and then you feel that rhythm, and then on that rhythm, and all of a sudden you get on that rhythm and you just stay on that pop, and all of a sudden you can really kind of hold that cadence over a certain period of time. And that's really good too. Okay. Outside of like, if you're not a rhythm person like me, I can't dance, I can't play a music instrument. It's awful. Okay. For me, it was counting strokes. Okay. Pay attention to the number of strokes you're taking in practice. I'm going to tell you right now, and I know this because I know a lot of Division I athlete or Division I coaches out there that want to recruit. Tyler probably can tell you the same thing. If they walk on the pool deck and they're going to watch you swim, they don't care about your times, guys. They're going to watch you swim and they're going to pay attention. Man, Tyler just took 3 breaststroke strokes to get across the pool. I want to see that kid. I want to talk to that kid. Okay. So in a sense of how you are getting across the pool and how you swim, I always hear coaches say, I want to take the prettiest swimmer, or I want to take the swimmer that takes the least number of strokes. Those are the kinds of things you want to talk about. So yeah, keeping that pop when you're tired during long distances, that just comes with, guess what, guys? Hard work and endurance. It's the grind. You got to grind. Okay. And that's what we're going to get to next, around endurance and strength.
Sorry.
You're good. You can move to the next one. But here's a little quick story for you that I do want to share. Going into the 2004 trials, okay, I tore something in my hip and I could not breaststroke kick for 6 months. I go, Eddie, I don't know. How am I going to make the Olympic team this summer? I literally can't breaststroke kick. All the doctors are telling me I'm not allowed to. It wasn't as bad as I sound. I'm a huge drama queen like that, but that's just where I was. And he just said, well, if we can't kick, then we're just going to pull our way to the finish. I said, okay, fine. So I spent 3 months straight, long course breaststroke, everything we did breaststroke. I had a pool buoy on, and I was just grinding it out, right? Just whether it was 50s or 100s or 200s, maybe a couple 400s in there. We were just going there. Guess what happened when I went to the Olympic trials? I got to that point in the race where you don't feel your arms. We all know where that point is, but I could still feel my arms. And I was like, oh man, this is scary. I'm dangerous now. So it was when you're asking me how sometimes the low-hanging fruit, guys, to a lot of these components that we're going to talk about is really, truly just grind work. Yeah. I hate to, it's not, and what's frustrating, and it's for us, what's frustrating for me and Tyler and former Olympians when we talk to you guys is that we'll sit here all day and beat it into you that it's not talent. This is not the talent aspect of it, right? One thing that I would say is that the common denominator to a lot of these components to being the best in the world is wanting it more than everybody else in practice every single day and knowing why you need to grind that hard in practice. Those are the kinds of things that we would push on each other every day. So when it comes to the pull, it's simple. Get it better, get it stronger. Okay. Do a lot of it. And don't do a lot of full stroke breaststroke, because that's the one thing that I would say that later on in my career I really struggled with was any kind of long full breaststroke sets. My timing would go off, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Okay. Finding your line. This is the Happy Gilmore aspect of the happy place. It's a breaststroker's happy place. When I was hips. It really is though, man. That's a great idea. This video up here. Okay. I had just pulled, I had just finished my kick. I'm in a streamline position. Okay. Finding your line is really, really important, because this is what frustrates non-swimmers. Okay. If you can find your line, your efficiency level goes up, right? If you can find your line better than somebody that's taller than you, that's stronger than you, maybe that has more power than you, more talent than you, you're going to win the race. Okay.
And that's exactly why guys like Eric Vent were able to beat people who were literally 6 inches taller than him. He was so incredibly efficient. He was so amazingly good at finding his line. Eric Vent, right? He's 5'6" or 5'7".
Yeah, he's 5'7". Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people will ask me, oh, well, am I ever going to be a good swimmer if I'm not, over 6 foot? It's absolutely you can be. It's all about finding your line. And this is so incredibly important. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to bring that up for just a second.
No, and I saw a bunch of people throw up Kazuke Kitajima's name in there, right? He was only 5'7" too. Okay. But when I saw him against him, when he would kick and pull, it was like, and then he would shoot forward. It was the same like wow factor when you were swimming next to him, like if you were throwing one of those like big rubber torpedoes in the water. You know what I'm talking about? You're like,
Yeah.
and then you like try to catch up, and you're like, oh my God, right? And it was like one again, be like always be learning, always be trying to figure out ways to get better. But the finding the line aspect of your arms and legs needing to talk to each other, it's absolutely right. So basically, in a sense, in a nutshell, you can never break your hands to pull until your feet touch. Okay. So what happens a lot of times is that we kick and we don't wait till our feet come together, right? Like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, you don't click those heels together. Click those heels together, and that gives your hands permissions to break apart. So the 101, like the learning, the first chapter of finding your line, is that you are not allowed to break your hands to pull until your feet touch. Now, with that being said, how do you adapt to different tempos? How do you adapt to, which is what I get all the time, Tyler, which is, okay, so how do you change your 50? How do you change your 50 tempo from your 200 tempo? It goes back to the slide before this, which talks about kick, right? Remember what I told you guys, the faster you kick, the faster you get to move. So the sooner you click those heels together, the sooner you can pull, okay? So remember that the speed of your feet will dictate how fast you can hit your line at a higher tempo. I hope that makes sense. Timing drills are your best friend, okay? The first drill that I ever learned as a kid growing up was the teacher took us all out of the pool. I was 7 years old. They lined us up all alongside the pool. We put our hands in a streamline position, okay? And they're like, what are you guys making? We're all making pencils. He goes, when you swim breaststroke, I want you to pencil point for 2 seconds. So we would swim breaststroke and hold out front for 2 seconds. Very simple drill, right? Guess what? I did that drill every single warm-up of single Olymp went to. Why? Because I was excited, right? Like I wanted to get in there, I wanted to race, but I also wanted to check the boxes of every bucket up there and race. So this would slow down my tempo. It would force me to allow my feet to finish before I break my hands and really make me remember, wow, if I just relax and stay out front and stay in that happy place, I'm going to be okay. Right? Like I don't have to muscle this. I don't have to power through this breaststroke. If I just relax and I make sure I click my heels together and get my hands out front, I'm going to be money. Okay. So again, I really encourage you to focus on these timing drills. And another one is like, and I know a lot of you guys know this one pull, 2 kicks, right? Like all you're doing with that drill, there's no magic to that drill. All you're doing is over-exaggerating the line, right? You pull, you kick, and you're like, oh, there's the line. I'm going to kick again in it, right? Like a boom, boom, and you kick twice. Like that's all it is. It's just you prolonging that kick. And I'm telling you, don't try to reinvent the wheel here, man. That one's money. Like those are drills that you'll see Olympians doing in warm-up. Those are drills that are going to allow you to slow it down. We try to, if you want to improve in breaststroke, it's not necessarily going to come from a new and improved breaststroke drill. It's not. It's going to come from improving the component of the kick, improving the component of the pull, and then allowing drills to communicate those two together. Okay? The location of your head and hips are the most important. This goes back to the conversation that when I was a coach, okay, this has got nothing to do with as a swimmer now, that I would want to see in a breaststroker when they were in the line position. Okay. When they're in their line position, which you can see in the picture right there, my hips are right on the surface of the water. So I should know the exact color of your suit because it is right on the surface of the water. Okay. So I'm looking at your hips. I don't care how high you're coming. I don't care where you're looking. I don't care about the strength of your kick or your pull. The first thing when I walk on your pull deck and I'm looking at you, I want to see where your hips are when you're in a streamline position. Okay, you'll be amazed at how much you can learn about a swimmer based off of where their hips are in the stroke. And when you're in that line out front in breaststroke, I want those hips right on the surface of the water. The second thing, you cannot see my ears in that picture, okay, because they're covered by my shoulders. That's a cue that a coach can see on the pool deck. Okay, so when I was coaching breaststroke, there was 2 things I would tell athletes when they would be out front like this. I said, I don't want to see your ears because they better be covered by your shoulders, right? When you do that, where are you looking? You're looking down. Okay. Second thing is I better see what color your suit is because it better be on the surface of the water. Those are two things that when you're swimming breaststroke and you tell yourself, cover my ears with my shoulders, right? Or when I finish like this, just make sure that my hips are on the surface of the water. Those are two things that you can actively do to improve your line, right? Like a lot of times the struggle is what coach is telling you and what you're doing don't match up. That's why the conversation is so important. Like if it's not making sense or you're having the same conversation today that you had a month ago, you better like, hey, we got to spend some time. We got to talk about why I'm not hitting my line in breaststroke, or what am I not doing right, or do I need to do more timing drills? Okay. When it comes to finding your line, guys, slow it down, especially you youngsters on this call. Okay. This is not something that you're going to do at race pace. This is something that you're going to do when you're playing that game like golf, right? Like when you're playing the golf game where what's the least number of strokes it's going to take me to get to the other end of the pool, and then take my time, add it up, and that's my golf score. It's like, I forget what we call it. But anyway, those are the areas right now. When I was a little kid and you put me behind the blocks, right? Straight summer league. Like I was lucky if my suit was tied. I was eating Skittles before the race. Okay. I get up there and like 25 breaststroke. What am I doing, guys? You just wound me up and I'm going to go all the way down the pool. You're not going to find your line at that speed doing 25s. Where you're going to find your line is slowing down, which is what my coach did. One of my first drills ever, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. That's a long time for a 7-year-old to be holding out front. Right? What ends up happening like 2 minutes into that drill? Coach is like, do we know how to count to 2? Like, does anybody know how to count to 2?
Seriously.
We struggle with it, but that's okay. It's just that prolong, and just be patient with it. Find the line, stay in that happy place for as long as you can. Guys, these are little things that will help you immensely as stronger. Okay. And what I want to do is with this presentation, give you the components so that as you grow and as you get stronger, those foundations are so strong that you can stand on them, and it's going to be little tweaks, little things that you're going to change that'll help you along the way. Let's go to the next slide, bud.
Real quick before we move on, we've actually got Mark Hesse on here, and he wants to inform us that it's SWOLF, if you remember SWOLF. Some people actually might have called it magic number, but I did hear it called SWOLF. Hi, by the way. Thanks for joining us again, Mark.
Yeah, Mark's the man. Guys, if you pick his brain about any stroke, let alone breaststroke, he'll help you out. Okay, this is head position. Just put this in there because I want to make this as easy as possible, okay, for us to figure this out. And again, it's going to be changed. It's going to tweak a little bit as you get older and change and get stronger. That's fine, okay? But one of the challenges, and I know there's some kids on here that have got some really awesome teams to swim for, and what do your teammates do in finals? They all get behind your lane. They're all standing behind you, okay? They're cheering you on. The head position that I want you to have, you should only hear your teammates. You should not see them, okay? Because where I want you, when you come up to breathe, I want you to look at where you want to shoot your hands, okay? That should be a target. You should be reaching for that spot. That should be three feet in front of you, 6 inches of the water, okay? It should be just out of reach. That's where you're looking, okay? Because when it comes to head position, it is 100% your own body type. Okay, so if you pull up all of these breaststrokers and watch them come up to breathe, okay, you're going to see different head positions and different positions and what that is. Your head position is directly, remember what I told you guys, I want my head to be as neutral as possible, which means it's in line with my spine. Like pretend that my arm right here is my spine and this is my head. I don't want it to break at all at my wrist. This being my neck, I don't want it to break at all. I want to keep it in as much in a straight line as possible. Why? The reason is because when I come down and I shoot my hands forward, I want to get into that line position as fast as I possibly can. The best way to do that, to get into that line position and cover your ears with your shoulders, okay, is to look at where you want to shoot your hands. Just this adjustment, like if you're looking at me right now, this is kind of like me looking 3 feet in front of me, 6 inches of the water. This adjustment versus that adjustment, okay? I just lifted my head maybe 2 inches. That's going to cause something to my hips. And it's also going to delay me from getting back down into that line position. These small little things like this will make the big change. Okay. But I'm a huge component of keeping it simple. The easiest way to do this and be successful, because that's what I want you guys to be, is looking at where you want to shoot your hands. So when you come up to breathe and you make that pose and your elbows are in front of your chest and you're like, yeah, like I just banged on the drum and you're about to shoot forward, I want you to see a carrot. I want you to see a target. I want you to see something out there that you're going for, that you're reaching for. That's the name of the game. Okay. Stays in line. Oh yeah, I already said that. Stays in line with your spine throughout. So right now, your head's going to stay in a position of where you're looking. We're visual. We don't have a lot of that. Focus on that. Focus on that ability out front. That's where you need to be looking about 3 feet in front of you, 6 inches under the water. Do not be looking at the other end of the pool. Okay. Picking your head up that much is going to cause an arch in your back, and it's going to cause your hip to go down. You got it, man. And then really and truly, the only time that we're looking down is when our ears are covered and we're in that happy place, the line of breaststroke. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. When it comes to your pullout, and this is like ever changing, right? Like every time they can, they're gonna change the technique to this. Okay. One of the biggest frustrations for me personally, and for a lot of my friends that I swam with, was we would get out of the water, we would swim great, and we would go over and watch video, and every coach would say, you're getting crushed. You're getting crushed off your walls. Like everybody's killing you. And you're like, I'm trying. It's not like I'm not trying. So if you raise your hand and you go, yeah, I've literally, my parents, like my grandmother who was in the stands was like, your pullouts are awful. That's okay. There's ways to get better at them. Okay. But there's also some aspects to your body type, right? Like if you're a long, skinny kid, you're going to be able to slice through the water a little bit better in this position. I got really broad shoulders, y'all. So when I would pull like this and come down, I'm causing more resistance. What does that mean? I can't control the width of my shoulders. That means I got to get stronger with my pull. The components of the things that I have in here that I wanted to stress to you guys is to start slow and end fast, okay? One of the biggest mistakes, these are just things that I personally made mistakes on, and I see all the time when I come on pool decks around the country, is that you start your pull too fast in your breaststroke pull out, and that causes you to miss all of this power between your shoulders, under your chest, from your shoulders to your belly button, okay? You start slow. Think of this, the phase one as being the catch, and then phase two being from your shoulders behind you, and that being the power, right? Like that being the drive, that being you pulling the lever. That's where the money is, okay? So again, start slow with starting slow here, thinking this is catch, because all you're doing in the beginning of a breaststroke pull is maintaining speed, right? Like when does coach tell you to start your breaststroke pull out? When you start to feel yourself slow down. So what you want to do is start that pull slow so that you maintain speed, and then boom, you get that big push of the pull, okay, of the pull down. And the most important thing here, again, with the breaststroke pull is keeping your head still, okay? I was awful at this. Why? Because I loved getting on the surface of the water, and I wanted to race, and I knew my stroke was good, and I wanted to hear the crowd, and I wanted to see my teammates. I made every mistake you possibly could as a kid growing up, okay? It's okay. That's how we get better. We learn from them. All right. So one of the things that you want to focus on is, and this is just one thing that one of my coaches told me growing up, was imagine you had a hook on the top of your head and somebody's just pulling you from that hook, right? So if your hands are coming down to your side, what's leading your body forward? It should be the top of your head. Okay. I thought, me personally, when I was a kid growing up, I thought, well, man, if I just really grit my teeth, Tyler, and I tuck my chin down, I'm going to be awesome, right? And what does that look like from the side? All that water's hitting me on the back of the head. It's a big no-no, okay? So you want to keep that space in your neck, so when you pull down like this, that head stays in line. That's something that we have to work on, okay? That's something that you really have to work on as you go through this. I see a lot of kids creep their head up or head down in the breaststroke pullout. Another big mistake. But really and truly, guys, just invest in it. You have to be patient. I got so frustrated. And again, your breaststroke pullout is the same thing as your kick. Like there's just going to be some people that are way better than you, okay? But just improve your pullout. Improve what you're capable of doing. The two ways that I know how to do that is by watching video, right? Every one of you has an iPhone. Every one of you has a coach that can grab your iPhone, video you doing it and say, okay, what do the components look like? How does my pull? How does my kick? How do we add the dolphin kick in? Is my head really moving? Okay. Because there is some times when you're swimming, and I was just as guilty of this. I was like, you're crazy, Eddie. What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. And he's like, yes, you are. What you're doing and what coach is seeing can be totally two different things, right? Like, and then video is a good equalizer. Video, you watch it and you go, whoa, I am dipping my head down. Wow, my hip's really low. Like, use video to your advantage. That's one of the biggest weapons that you guys have now that we just started to get towards the end of my career. And then time, okay? Again, compare yourself just like you would a kick. Do a breaststroke pullout and a couple strokes to 15 meters. Do 4 or 5 of them. Get coach to time them. Get a good average. Do that once a week. Do that once a month. Whatever you're capable of doing. But the only way you're going to get better at a breaststroke pullout is by focusing on the components of it, okay? Keeping your head still. But biggest mistake I see is people slowing their hands down and they're speeding this up, which is causing them to miss all of that power here, okay? One of the things that you'll notice is if a coach tells you that kid just looked like he surged in front of you, that means you started too fast. Okay, be the most coachable swimmer on the pool deck. Let your coach when they tell you things about when you're watching a race. If I was swimming against Tyler in a 200 IM and they'd be like, dude, Tyler's not even a breaststroker, but he just like surged off of that breaststroke pullout to get in front of you. And I was like, I must have rushed it because I wanted to like catch him on that breaststroke. I must have rushed the first half of that pullout. Okay, that's a real life conversation that definitely could have happened in Santa Clara Grand Prix. Right? But no doubt that could have happened, okay? So a couple things when it comes to drills, okay, to kind of finalize some of this stuff. Wall kicks, this is a drill that I really like to tell a lot of you guys to do because I really want you to be successful, okay? And this is something that's going to stand the test of time because we're seeing breaststroke tempos go faster and faster and faster. And one of the things that Mark mentioned in the chat room was about fast heels, right? Like that's the thing that we were talking about so much was getting those heels up fast, cocking the hammer so that you can shoot the gun. Okay. These are all analogies that you'll hear at that elite level. Okay. So what I would do to rev my engine, okay, just like every redneck gets super excited before a NASCAR race and they get there at the starting line and all those engines go off and they're like, hey, let's go. Like it's awesome. It's not just for the rednecks, guys. It's so that the engine knows what it feels like at 9,000, 10,000 RPMs. And it's never going to race, right? Like you're never going to race at that. If you do, you blow up. Wall kicks are the same thing for a breaststroker. You're revving your engine. You do this in the diving well. It's very simple. You hold onto the wall. You take as many kicks as you can in 5 seconds. Okay, you just rev that engine up. Don't care what the kicks look like. Don't worry about finishing your feet. You just want to move your feet as fast as you can for 5 seconds. Okay, let's say you get 5 kicks in. That's pretty good. A second, right? The next time you do that, 100% of the time, everybody takes 1 or 2 more kicks. Okay, so now your body's going, oh, you really want me to move my feet faster? Your brain's saying, okay, we're figuring this out. Okay, the more times, like if you do that 2 or 3 times, probably mostly 2 times is what I would do it, of just 5 seconds, as many kicks to breaststroke as you can in. Okay, you're just that NASCAR car revving its engine so that when you get up to the start line, you're like, dude, I'm ready to go. Like my engine can go to 8, 7, 1,000 RPMs, and I'm going to be money. Okay, because I want you, when you get excited in breaststroke, I want you to feel your feet the first 3 strokes, right? Like I don't want you to get in the water and take those first 3 strokes and those back tires of that car spin out. And you're like, oh, I can't. And you lose. And like it's happened to me in more times than I want to mention. Okay. And for that not to happen to you, you have to, in a sense, do that rev the engine. That's one of the key components that I've seen. Okay. And again, play with this stuff in practice. Like practice what you preach. Like don't just wait till like, well, Brendan only said, Tyler, Brendan only said do it in a meet. No, you're crazy if you don't think that I wasn't trying this at the Olympic training camp. When I was going to do some 50s pace, I was like, hey, let me just go 5 seconds, like rev my engine up real fast, see if it helps me. Okay. If you're a breaststroker on this call and you take and you have that sensation of like, man, I just feel heavy in the water. I feel like a diving brick. I feel like really heavy. Okay. Having your engine like this, wall kicks will help you do that. Okay.
Yes. You train the way you want to race. I say
100%.
that all the time.
Yeah. It's crazy how many people, this is Tyler, this is one of those little nuggets that I stole when I was coaching. It's amazing to me how many people want to stand out in a swim meet, but they don't want to stand out in practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about that. Like I was trying to win a set by 2 body lengths against people. Why? Because that's the way I was trying to race, right? Like I wanted to bury people. So I was doing that in practice. So the next drill that we got is underwater breaststroke. Again, breaststroke's a tough stroke where when you get tired in the season, you're going to feel heavy. You're going to feel like so much of your body is in water for this stroke, where if you're fatigued or you're going through a training cycle, breaststroke's going to hurt the most, if not the worst, because so much of your body is in the water. Okay. So one of the things that I would like to do, breaststroke drills, is just swim breaststroke underwater. Okay. Or breaststroke kick in a streamlined position underwater. Why? Because there's a ton of resistance underwater. One of the things that I love that Ty Smith saying, I love underwater breaststroke. I absolutely thrived off of this. Anytime that I was like, I feel sluggish, I don't feel good, you go underwater for a couple cycles breaststroke, you're going to come up and you may not feel like $1,000,000, but you definitely feel better than you did underwater. Okay. Add the resistance, right? It's like that comparison aspect. Just grab the resistance from the underwater breaststroke swimming and then take it above water. Guys, practice this when you get a chance to get back on the do 50s. I used to do this all the time. Go 25 underwater, 25 above water. Swim. Okay. Try to start paying attention to those times that you go. It's amazing when you're underwater swimming breaststroke, how much you want to stay in this position because there's no resistance. The reason you guys are saying, I love underwater breaststroke, Brendan, I love it, is because that's the happy place. Like we try to stay in that position as much as possible. Okay. Drills for time. Breaststroke, as I got later on in my career, and I don't want to take too much more time, Tyler, but when more I get into my career, one of the things I realized is that I wanted to do less and less full stroke breaststroke in practice because I would make bad and stupid mistakes, right? Like if I did a set, I would pull it breaststroke. If I did a set, I would kick breaststroke. If I did a set, I'd be like, hey, coach, can I go 2 up, 2 down, 2 strokes above water, 2 strokes underwater breaststroke? Okay. The reason is because it challenges you in a different way. Drilling your way through breaststroke is allow you to continue to keep that connection that needs to stay strong between your pull and your kick. Okay. Anytime, guys, you get out of the water and you go up to your coach and you say, hey man, that time doesn't make sense. Like I felt like I was working twice as hard to go twice as slow. And that'll happen in a short axis stroke. It'll happen in butterfly. It'll happen in breaststroke. The reason is because you're not communicating. You're not allowing yourself to be in that efficient line. Okay. The only way I know how to fix that is by doing drills that are focused on timing and then getting a certain time for those. So like for me, a pencil point for 250 breaststroke going into the 2012 Olympics, my goal was to go somewhere in a 31 or 32. Okay. Doesn't mean I started there, but I knew what my time was for that drill. Why? Because I was drilling that all the time. Okay. So challenge yourself that way. If you're a swimmer, challenge yourself with your own times, pay attention to those and get better. It's amazing to me, Tyler, how many young kids out there will swim practice and not remember at all what they went on a set.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably go back to some sets that Tyler and I did together that we could probably sit there and we could probably come pretty close to what we were going on those sets. Guys, you got to pay attention to what you're doing because that's the first in taking ownership of your swimming. And that's the number one thing. Like,
yeah. And
you were one of the best at that too, man. Like, you were one of the best at that. Like, I've never met anybody, guys, like Tyler, that if he didn't swim well, right, in the middle of the season, it wasn't like he'd throw his cap or goggles. I remember watching him go up to his coach and say, that was my fault. We got to figure this out. It's not happening again. So tell me what we got to do to get this right. Like, he was obsessed with the details, obsessed with that mindset. And that's why he became an Olympic champion, guys. Like, I would love to tell you that you're the most talented person on this call, Tyler, but you and I are not, right?
No.
It's so hard for me to tell you guys that and not believe me. But I can tell you this, I'll outwork you. Tyler will, like, if we got on the treadmill and said, okay, who's coming off first? We'd be like, well, the treadmill's going to break because I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of mindset. It's like the burn the boats, take the island mindset that's the separating factor. Guys, just focus on these components for me when it comes to breaststroke, okay? Pay attention to what the greats are doing. Pay attention to your tempos if you start getting up there. But it's the kick, the pull, the timing. Pay attention to your pullouts through video and time. And then when it comes to drills, just do timing drills, okay? Those are the things that will help you. You have the perfect opportunity right now to be a student of your sport outside of the swimming pool. Utilize this time with the opportunities that Fitters are giving you, that USA Swimming is offering you. There's a ton of resources out there. Utilize them when you can, okay?
No, this was awesome. Honestly, like, and I said this at the very beginning of the webinar, breaststroke has never been my forte. And I learned a lot during this last hour. So now I kind of feel like I should go get in the pool and see if I can actually put some of these things to use. But I don't think anybody wants to see me in a Speedo anymore. Not that they did before, but especially not right now.
I don't think
anybody did. But no, thank you so much, Brendan, for volunteering your time. This was so awesome. And, everybody that's on the call, you guys are going to have an email sent to your email address in about 2 hours. It's going to have a link to the replay of this video. So if there's anything that you want to go back and rewatch, you'll be able to do that. Also, we have a lot of other webinars coming up later this week, and we're going to be doing several webinars every single week. So I'm going to actually redirect you guys to another link here in just a minute. But if you like to go there on your own, it's at the URL fitterandfaster.com/live. That's where our other upcoming webinars are. If you want to see all of our past webinars, those are actually at fitterandfaster.com/replay. And Brendan, if anybody has any other questions that they'd like to ask you, how could they reach out to you?
I'm an open book, man. I want you guys to be successful. I know somebody on this call is going to be really, really good and be great. You can just email me at bhansen@usaswimming.org. If you got a question, hit me up. If you're like, give me a good set, or I want to just try something new, I'm all for it, man. Like, one of the beauties of my career is that I hit the rung all along the way. I've been third twice at the Olympic trials, right? Like, I've lost at the biggest and I've won at the biggest events. Okay. So I may not have, I know what worked for me, but I also know it takes a village to get me where I wanted to go. And I want to be part of your village. And so does Tyler. And that's why we're on this. That's why we're here, guys, is to make sure that you guys are successful at what you do. And Tyler, one last thing I'm going to say is that for everybody that was on, I'm really stoked that you guys were here. But the people that I was the most scared of were not the most talented or the ones that were seated higher than me in a psych sheet. The ones that I was the most scared of, or that I felt like, man, they're the most dangerous, were the ones that were asking questions and were always like asking me questions. Like, hey, man, when you swim breaststroke, what are you thinking about? I'm like, oh, man, if he's asking those questions, I'm in trouble, right? Like, he's going to really – and what do I tell them? So stay in that learning state. Stay in that moment. Like, even when you're the world record holder and an Olympic champion, okay, you should never act like it, or no one should ever know it, because all you're doing is continuing trying to get better. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I was successful for as long as I was. I want you guys to be successful, but I also want you to be good for a really, really long time. Stay in that learning state and continue to be on these webinars, ask questions, and then continue to improve. And I'm telling you, it's amazing how hard work can trump talent every day of the week, man. And I don't even know what day of the week it is right now.
Well, it is so true.
Yeah,
right. Somebody told me this a long time ago. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and it's so true. Brandon, real quick, what's your email address? You said people
I'm gonna
can
put
reach
it
out
in
to you
the
email, right?
yeah. I'm gonna put it in the
the chat. Okay. Awesome.
It's there,
I'm going
guys.
to broadcast that comment to the room so everybody can see it. Also, thank you guys for reminding me. We actually, thank you for keeping me on top of my game. We are actually doing a giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and select someone at random because you guys are going to get an Arena Team USA hoodie. And let's see here. I've got a handy dandy little randomizer tool. Let's go with,
It's me. I'll I'll take it. That'd be honest if I won. I won't.
Oh, everybody's freaking out now. You guys are freaking my tool out. Hold on. Lily Gollin, you're the winner of our first giveaway for the week. Lily Gollin. We're actually going to reach out to you in just in a little bit with. Yeah, dude, look at how crazy chat's going. People love free stuff.
That's what my
right?
email. Hey, that's what my inbox is going to look like in an hour.
So thank you guys very much for being here. You guys are awesome. Make sure that, again, that link should still be showing up on your webpage. Make sure you go and sign up for all the webinars that we're doing this week because we're going to give away a hoodie at each and every one of those webinars. So make sure you sign up. Also, we actually have a clinic this weekend in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're anywhere near Atlanta, Georgia, go ahead and check that out on our website and sign up and come hang out. I'm actually going to be coaching that one along with Olympic coach Brett Hawk. We also have another clinic coming very soon to Greenville, South Carolina. If you're anywhere in that area, obviously sign up and come hang out with us as well. So we're going to go ahead.
Oh, nuts. You froze.